Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of council. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 5 o'clock. Roll call, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. All members of council are present with the exception of Councillor Foley and Councillor Whalen.
Thank you. Item 3, review of revisions or deletions to the agenda. Seeing none. I have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that City Council approves the agenda as printed. Can I get a mover? Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Melanie. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in general nature? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 6, review and adoption of the council minutes. I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that City Council approves the following minutes as printed. A, the Committee of the Whole meeting held on July the 11th, 2023. And B, the regular council meeting held on July the 11th, 2023. And can I get a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor Ian. Thanks, Nadia. Discussion? All those in favor? That motion is carried. Item 7, we don't have any public meetings pursuant to the Planning Act, Municipal Act, and other statutes. Item 8, we don't have any presentations or delegations. And item 9, it takes us to our first question and answer period. Is there any questions from anyone?
I actually have a question. You want me to stand up?
Yes, could you stand up, give us your age, your IQ, and where you live?
IQ is 3, age is 43. A neighbor of mine was inquiring regarding the sidewalks and the repair to them. So periodically staff has gone around. Oh yeah, periodically staff has gone around and painted areas of issue. However, he's wondering as to when they'll come around and deal with those issues, is all. Just the sidewalk that are lifted and painted red and whatnot. That's it. That's my question.
Okay, thanks for your question, Bill. Steve, maybe just since Mitch isn't here.
So usually what happens is, like Bill had mentioned, staff will go around and paint wherever there's, a trip hazard or a gap in the sidewalks. I don't know for sure, but I'm just assuming that it's time constraints. We typically do, go out with a grinder, grind down those trip hazards wherever the paint marks are. I do know the paint marks were just recently done. I'm going to say, 2 or 3 weeks. I can only assume that those trip hazards will be scheduled to be done before the snowfalls.
Okay. Thanks, Steve. And thanks for the question, Bill. Any other questions? No? Move on to item 10, communications, 10A. Carla Porter, the Executive Assistant for the Temiskaming Hospital, read the Temiskaming Area Ontario Health Team announcement, and that was received for information purposes. 10B, from Rachel Cote, the Executive Assistant for Temiskaming Health Unit, read the proclamation request for International Overdose Awareness Day, and that reference we'll be dealing with under new business. 10C, from Rachel Cote, the Executive Assistant for Temiskaming Health Unit, read the air quality monitoring station in the Temiskaming Health Unit region, and that was received for information. Item D, from Régin Belil-Massy, the Chairperson for Le Village Noël, Temiskaming 2023, read the Village Noël, Temiskaming 2023 and placement of storage container. That was received for consideration. 10E, Bill Ramsey, Friends of the Waterfront, and that was a draft petition for circulation for the New Liskard Marina property expression of interest. That was received for information purposes. 10F, from Brian Hughes, former resident of Temiskaming Shores, re-honoring families who contribute to Temiskaming Shores, and that was received for information purposes. 10G, Ashley Carter, the Deputy Clerk for Fort Erie, and that's re-controls on Airbnb, verbos and others which affect municipal rentals, and that was received for consideration. Item H, from Herb Villeneuve, the Director of Northeast Operations for the Ministry of Transportation. Read the response to the proposed roundabout, and that was received for information purposes. And item I, from Suzanne Othmer, Board Member, New Liskeard BIA, and read the resignation from the BIA Board, and that was received for information purposes. I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores agrees to deal with communication items 10A through I in accordance with the agenda references. Can I get a mover, please? Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Melanie. Discussion? Nadia?
I was interested to see the request from the health unit about the purple air and the air quality monitor. It was difficult to see what exactly the situation was in Temiskaming Shores when going on that app, because it became obvious that we didn't have a monitor here. So I think if that could be brought back for discussion, for consideration.
Okay, thank you.
And I have a second one.
Yeah,
Also, go ahead.
I said keep going. You're good to go.
Just about the Village Noël and their request, I think that's worth. There's two requests in one. I think that's worth considering.
Okay, thank you. Mark?
Just on the air monitor point, Matt, before he went on holiday, I think because I'm on the health unit, indicated that there'd be interest certainly for a couple. So we'll make sure that we request at least 2 monitors for the city. There may be more available, is what my understanding is, just from the notice that I haven't spoken to anybody about it, but that was that there are a few available. There's up to 10, I believe, available for the region. Yeah.
Thanks. I would also like to see item F come back, and we always get a lot of requests for buildings or places to be named after folks, and I would like to see that go back to staff for some input, and maybe thinking about just putting a bylaw together or something on where we can recognize folks that have contributed to the community, and just see where we can go with that. I know especially with the fire hall, we've had a lot of folks that have had a lot of involvement over the years, and I just want to make sure we don't offend anybody, and we make sure that we do recognize those individuals who have contributed, and making sure that the families are get that recognition that they deserve. Melanie?
I'd like to see the item on Airbnbs come back. I feel like it's not a critical issue in our community at this time, but I think those communities where it now is at a critical level might have appreciated looking at it a little sooner. So maybe we can gather some data from, I think with the lakes and all of the natural assets that we have, this could become more of an issue in our community, and it could be really detrimental overall when the balance of rental to Airbnb gets out of hand.
Awesome. Thank you. Any last comment, Ian?
Thanks. I don't know, there wasn't much more information from on item E from Bill, the Friends of the Waterfront petition, but I'm assuming at some point we'll get more information from them.
Yeah, and they have requested the usage of some property to be able to have an hour and a half or 2 hour get-together where they can discuss what's happening with the waterfront and getting their views together. So for sure, I think that's a draft petition. They're going to have some folks sign it, and that information will come back, through our process where we're looking at, what our next steps are with the New Liskeard waterfront.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any last comments? Okay, we do have a resolution in front of us. All those in favor? And that motion is carried. Item 11, Committees of Council, Community and Regional. I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that the following minutes be accepted for information. A, the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment meeting held on June 28th, 2023. Can I get a mover, please? Thanks, Ian. Thanks, Nadia. Discussion? Mark?
This is a question from, I guess, from a learning perspective for my part. So the Committee of Adjustment had a particular issue in this latest minutes. And yeah, I'm just trying to pull it up here as well. Yeah, regarding the property and some concerns from a neighbor. So has this process been completed? Has the consent been approved? I wasn't quite clear. It was recommended that it be approved. And it has been approved? Or is that this property, this 13.35 hectares of land? I guess my question really is the proponent who came forward with some issues around noise and other things. Have we addressed that properly? Has there been an opportunity? Obviously, this individual came forward and expressed some concerns, and I'm just wondering if those concerns have been addressed, or just want to, I'm just wondering how that process.
Thanks, Mark. And I'll get Amy to answer your question.
Yeah, the Committee of Adjustment is the public forum for people to speak either in support or against applications. There is also an appeal mechanism that, but I believe that there was the resolution 2023-2020-27 to basically that the Committee of Adjustments for the City of Temiskaming Shores approved the consent application. And in speaking with one of the officials for the Committee of Adjustment, they did indicate, I think, that most of the discussion and the concerns were addressed at that meeting. I think it was just concerns that maybe they were expanding the business, but that was not the intention.
Okay.
But that would be the forum, and you have delegated your authority to the Committee of Adjustment for that purpose.
Okay. Thanks for your question, Mark. Any other questions? No? Okay, we do have a resolution in front of us. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Item 12, Committees of Council, Internal Departments. There were none. Brings us to item 13, Reports by Members of Council. Anybody have anything they want to report? No? Okay, moving on to item 14, Notice of Motions. Any notice of motions tonight? Thank you. Brings us to 15, New Business. 15A, motion from July the 11th, 2023, regular council meeting, the Temiskaming Municipal Association resolution for Home Care First. I do have a resolution in front of me. Whereas the population of our region is disproportionately aged as compared to the rest of the province, and whereas specialty medical services are disproportionately unavailable within our region, and whereas the distances to travel for specialty services generally exceeds 300 kilometers return, and whereas trips to receive outpatient specialty services often require transportation services, and whereas trips to receive outpatient specialty services often require overnight accommodations for our community member as well as the transportation service driver, and whereas residents of our communities are at risk of premature institutionalization without adequate care, and whereas there is limited institutional hospital and long-term care space for care of the elderly within the region and provincially, and whereas home care has been identified as the most fiscally and socially responsible means to care for our seniors, and whereas the pandemic has demonstrated that living at home is the safest place for most of the vulnerable members of our community, and whereas base funding for home care in our region has not seen a significant increase from the province in over 16 years. And whereas the inflationary pressures on regulatory service providers, the human resource costs and needs, and the increasing needs of aging residents of the region has not been financially addressed by the province. And whereas the recipients of home care services cannot afford increases in service costs, and whereas the providers of home care services cannot mitigate such increases in costs and need without affecting both quality and quantity of services. Now therefore be it resolved that we lobby the Ontario government, Ontario Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care, Ontario Health North, elected members, FNUM, and all other government representatives to support a home care first approach to health care by investing significantly and immediately in home and community care organizations and services in the Northeast, to make the investments at base funding level to support the sector now and for the future, to ensure all Northeastern Ontarians can avoid premature institutionalization and live safely at home in the region for as long as possible. Can I get a mover, please? Thanks, Ian. Thanks, Nadia. Discussion?
Thanks, Jeff.
Mark?
Perhaps Kelly could add Roma to that list as well. Can you do that? Yep, thanks.
Done. Any other comments? Okay, all those in favor? And that motion is carried. Item B, proclamation request, International Overdose Awareness Day. I do have a resolution in front of me, whereas the City of Temiskaming Shores does affirm and acknowledge the harm and hardship caused by drug overdose, and whereas we recognize the purpose of International Overdose Awareness Day as remembering without stigma those who have died and acknowledge the people who went unseen and whose lives have been altered by overdose. And whereas we resolve to play our part in reducing the toll of overdose in our community, which claimed the lives of thousands of Ontarians during the past year, together with countless more affected forever. And whereas 6 suspected drug-related deaths occurred during the first half of 2023, and a total of 14 deaths during the last year in the Temiskaming Health Unit region, and whereas we affirm that the people affected by overdose are our sons and our daughters, our mothers and fathers, our brothers and sisters, our friends, and deserving of our love, compassion, and support. Therefore, I, Jeff LaFerriere, Mayor, do hereby proclaim August 31st, 2023 as Overdose Awareness Day in the City of Temiskaming Shores. Can I get a mover, please? Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Melanie. Discussion? All those in favor? And that motion is carried. This brings us to item 16, bylaws. I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2023-087, being a bylaw for the assumption of a highway for public use within the City of Temiskaming Shores Grand Drive Extension. Bylaw number 2023-088, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with Continental Carbon Group, Inc. for the Halebury Water Treatment Plant Filter 2 rehabilitation. Bylaw number 2023-089, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with LUA Construction, Inc. for the installation of an emergency bypass pump, piping, concrete slab, and fencing at the Robert Elm Pumping Station. Bylaw number 2023-090, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with Shaba Testing Services Limited for engineering services to provide the design for reconstruction of Montgomery Street. Bylaw number 2023-091, being a bylaw to enter into a lease agreement with Zubik Skills Limited for use of the skate sharpening room at the Don Shepherdson Memorial Arena. Bylaw number 2023-092, being a bylaw to enter into a lease agreement with Jose and Mark Dupuy for the operation of the Don Shepherdson Memorial Arena concession. Bylaw number 2023-093, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with 2344 Royal Canadian Army Cadet Corps for the use of space in various municipal facilities for the purpose of a cadet program. Bylaw number 2023-094, being a bylaw to authorize the annual insurance premium payment for the municipal insurance and risk management services within Marsh brokered by MIS Municipal Insurance Services for July the 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024. Bylaw number 2023-095, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with Mine Connect to provide event management services for the Northern Ontario Mining Showcase at the Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada PDAC Convention for 2024, 2025, and 2026. Bylaw number 2023-096, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with Mine Connect to provide event management services for the Northern Ontario Mining Showcase at the Canadian Institute of Mining Convention for 2024, 2025, and 2026. Bylaw number 2023-097, being a bylaw to designate any plan of subdivision or part thereof that has been registered for 8 years or more, which shall be deemed as not a registered plan of subdivision, which is 240 Albert Street, be hereby introduced and given first, second, and third and final reading, be signed by the mayor and clerk, and the corporate seal affixed thereto. Can I get a mover, please? Thanks, Ian. Seconded by Nadia. And discussion? All those in favor? That motion is carried. Brings us to item 17, schedule of council meetings. So 17A, we have a committee of the whole meeting scheduled for September the 5th, 2023, starting at 3 p.m. And item B, we have a regular council meeting scheduled for September the 19th, 2023, starting at 6 p.m. We don't have a closed session tonight. And item 19 is confirming bylaws. I do have a resolution in front of me. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2023-098, being a bylaw to confirm certain proceedings of council of the Corporation of the City of Temiskaming Shores for its regular meeting held on August the 8th, 2023, be hereby introduced and given first, second, and third and final reading, and be signed by the mayor and clerk, and the corporate seal affixed thereto. Can I get a mover, please? Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Melanie. Discussion? All in favor? And that motion is carried. And item 20, adjournment. Be it resolved, the council hereby adjourns its meeting at 5:22. Can I get a mover, please? Thanks, Ian. Thanks, Nadia. All those in favor? And we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Good thing I got water. Thanks, Shal.